Welcome, everybody. I believe we are live. Looks like we're having a few little issues here. As you come on board tonight, if you want to say hello, feel free to. My name is John Peterson. We are with Washington WREIA. September 2022, coming off summer break here. It's our first meeting in the fall. We'll meet September, October, and November. A lot of you know, here we go. A lot of you know that we take December off just for same reason we take August off. Just a lot of people got a lot of things going on, so we take December off. Alfonso, wow, have not seen you in a long time. Good evening. Good to see that name pop up on the screen. So as I said, we're back. We took August off. I hope everyone had a good summer. Just kind of start the meeting off. We'll let folks kind of connect with us. We got a good subject matter tonight, and we'll spend the next 45 minutes talking about that. Let a few folks kind of connect as we begin to. If you pop in the room, you want to say hello, feel free to. Also, as we just get started, if anyone did anything fun this summer, if you went anywhere interesting, had any good trips, feel free to type those comments in. As we go through tonight's subject matter too, we kind of titled it The Good, the Bad, and the Reality. We're just going to be talking about a little bit about what's going on in the market, and maybe more importantly, give everyone a little bit of direction, hopefully, as we kind of walk through this next 12 months to 18 months, help everybody out a little bit. As I've been out and talking to people, I've just sensed a lot of people getting a little discouraged and kind of down in the dumps, if you will. And we just wanted to correct that, make sure everyone's on the right path. But if anyone had any good trips or anything, feel free to chime in a little bit. There we go. Chris, magnificent evening. Is that the weather, the subject matter? Just you in a good mood? Don't know what magnificent evening means. Sounds positive, though, so that's good. That's part of the good, the bad, and the reality. Chris, good to see you on. Good to see. Always a great day. Okay, that's great. That's great. Make sure that you comment tonight as we walk through some of these examples, some of these ideas here that we're going to. As some of you know, during the course of the past week, as we were kind of sending out some of our emails, we asked the database, asked you to chime in to let us know a little bit about headlines. We're going to kind of start off our evening with that. And we asked you, to send us some headlines that were negative. Certainly, that's not too hard to find. You see a lot of those around, certainly social media, online. If you get print materials, certainly newspapers, evening news, evening cable programs, Facebook, on Instagram, anywhere that you get your news, you see a lot of negative. And then also we asked you for some positive, because we didn't always want to be kind of down the dumps. We wanted to challenge folks to see if they could find any positive results and headlines. And we got some interesting ones. I just want to share a few of those with you as we get started. So before I even do that, here's tonight's kind of agenda, if you will. As we talk about this subject, I'm going to talk a little bit about these headlines, and then I'm going to kind of go right into tonight's subject matter. What we're going to be talking about tonight is we're going to be talking about, kind of where we are, if you will, a little bit where we are in the market. And certainly if you have comments and you have experiences, I know a lot of folks out there are involved in the real estate business, certainly chime in and let us know your experiences. But I'm going to give you a little bit of direction. First of all, hopefully I'm going to kind of broaden it out and give everyone a little bit of insight and ideas. Then I'm going to break it down. I'm going to break it down into 3 different categories. Those of you that are brand new to the business, we're going to call you newbies, beginners, just starting out. We're going to kind of give you a direction to go in the next year to 18 months, kind of as we walk through some of this market change. We're going to be talking next segment of investors, and that's kind of growth investors. Growth investors are those that are kind of knee deep in it. You got some experience, maybe been in the business 5 years, 10 years, but you're really kind of full bore into the real estate investment game. And then we're going to end tonight talking to the grizzled vet. Certainly I'm in that category these days. Someone that's been in this long term and kind of give you some insight and some ideas on how we walk through some of these times that we sense that are coming. So we'll get kind of going into that as we go. Kimberly, good to see you. Alan, good to see you. Chris, as I said, good to see you. Jim, good to see you. Dominic, always. Thanks for joining us here tonight. But let's talk a little bit about some of these headlines and some of the folks that people threw in. I think one of the best that kind of summed it up is Jim Howell. I'm not sure if Jim's with us yet or not, but Jim spent his career in the newspaper business, so he always kind of chimes in with some good insight. And I'm just going to read kind of what Jim wrote. And I thought it was very interesting, very true. He said, after spending years in the newspaper business and then leaving that environment, I made a conscious effort to tune it all out. I try to train myself to limit my diet. Yes, I may miss important happenings or things that once might have interested me, but I feel I'm healthier for it. So Jim sounds like, he's gotten away from some of the headlines. He continued to write too many sensational headlines. If it bleeds, it leads. So I'll just contribute a few happy ones. And he gave me a few positive notes. Vanessa, good to see you. Good to see you. We're just kind of starting out with some of these headlines that people threw in, and Jim's been in the newspaper business. I hear this from a lot of folks. I hear this from sales trainers. People say never start out the day reading headlines. Stay away from that. It kind of sets your tone or sets your day in a negative way. So you got to be careful of that, because a lot of you have heard of clickbait. Everyone's trying to get you to click on their story. So they're exaggerating a headline, or they're trying to misconstrue something that went on overnight. So you got to be very, very careful of that. Jim threw in a couple interesting ones. He threw in from the Wall Street Journal, an Ivy League dropout just sold his firm to Adobe for $20 billion. Could you imagine? Just sold his firm for $20 billion. So he's not worried about rising interest rates. He just had a big payday. Apparently the guy's 30 years old. He also threw in another one, interesting. Maybe Jim has some connection to Memphis. Maybe he's looking to invest in down there. But he said Memphis International Flea Market brings opportunities for small businesses, for our Hispanic community. Again, some of these cities are embracing some of the Hispanic community in their cities, and they're reaching out to them. They know they're very entrepreneurial, and just a good positive headline. Another one of our longtime members, if you will, is Scott Gunn. Scott's an experienced investor. Scott's been out there investing in real estate for a long time. And he came up with a couple interesting. When I first saw it, I had to reread it a few times. Scott said, Heron wins FDA nod for post-operative agent to address nausea and vomiting. Okay. First of all, I said, maybe he thought I had surgery coming up, but when I first read it, I thought I said heroin. I was like, heroin? How is that good news? But it was Heron. So I guess if you own Heron and the FDA gave a nod, I guess you had a very, very good week last week, probably made a little bit of money. He also sent in a local one about the Walter Reed. A lot of you know it's about 66 acres over there. Walter Reed continues to build, continues to have new projects. They said even in the environment of raising interest rates, they're still moving forward with new projects. They're an opportunity zone. Investors are attracted to some of those things. So they're still moving on. And certainly all around the city, if we keep it localized, you can see there's a lot of activity. Again, some of these projects that have been developed and are ongoing, certainly they can't put a stop to it right away. I mean, they're continuing building, continuing investing in our city. Amazon, Scott, this is another one from Scott. Amazon has dedicated over $147 million to the District of Columbia for affordable housing projects. I mean, folks, that's good news. We got some big players in this area. We have definitely left the sleepy government town. We have a lot of industry in this area all around. So we have the microsciences up to 70. We have the internet, Amazon, some of the things in Northern Virginia. So we have a lot of good things going on here in this area. And the reason that we just kind of did this little exercise, as I said, I've been talking to people, and I find myself doing this too. When you get all these headlines and you get all this negative chatter, it can affect you. It can really affect you. And you got to be very, very careful to make sure that you get away from some of that and focus on the good things that are going on. And so that's kind of why we did that little exercise. So tonight we're going to be talking about opportunities. We're going to be talking about where are they. We're going to be talking about good news, reality, bad news, but more importantly, we're going to be talking to you as an individual based on where you are in the investment game on some of the things that you can do over the next 12 to 18 months. My gut feeling is, and those of you in the business now, if you want to chime in, feel free to put any comments you have on. Be happy to read some of those, is that we had to level out, right? We had to slow down. There was no choice. I mean, in the spring and early part of summer, from a real estate perspective, you put a sign in the ground and you're getting 4, 5, 6, in some cases, 10, 12 contracts. It was nuts. And you knew every house that went on the market was $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 more. At some point that had to stop. At some point, we as consumers, we as home buyers, where there's no way we could keep up with that kind of growth or that kind of inflation, for lack of a better word. So it had to stop. So then all of a sudden, when it does, everyone all starts talking about doomsday, talking about, the end is here and, everything's going to crash and all the values are going to go down and, on and on and on. And if you just consume this stuff, you start letting it kind of penetrate your business and penetrating your soul, if you will, and it can really have an effect on your business. So the first thing I want to tell you, the first thing, if we look at this broadly, is that all of us have our own little economies, right? We all have our own little small businesses, if you will. And we just got to focus on that part of our lives. Let some of that noise, you can go right over your head. As long as, let's say you're employed, let's say you're an employee of a business and you continue to keep your job and you continue to make a paycheck and you continue to have the ability to make your bills, a slowdown in the real estate market be tremendous for you, depending on your strategy. It might give you more opportunity to negotiate, might give you more opportunity to look around and not be so pressured. It might give you an opportunity to do some of the things that have been kind of really hard to do in the last few years with values rising and rising. So there's a lot of good things that can happen even when a market like ours maybe be slowing down a little bit. So let's break this down. Let's break this down in 4 categories. First, everyone. And again, the reason I did this, because I asked a few investors a few weeks ago, I said, hey, let me bounce off a few subjects to you for the WREIA group in September. What would you like to hear? And to the person, everyone said, let's do something positive. Let's get away from all this negativity. Let's talk about positive things that we can do in our businesses to grow and to thrive and to make money and to create new relationships and to see our real estate business go upward instead of always talking about the downside of things. So first, let's do a broad category of everyone. All right. The main advice I have for everyone, no matter where you are in your real estate business, is play the long game. Think about the long-term future of your business. Don't get caught up in the next 30 days or 60 days, things of that nature. Now, it's easy to say if you are under the gun, if you're under pressure, if you need income, if you need capital, that can be, a tough spot. But you need to focus on your long-term goals. You need to focus on the long term, because if you're in the real estate investment arena or in any kind of investing, and you do it long enough. Now I have the, I guess, is it privilege? I don't know. All of a sudden I'm the older person in the room. I've been doing this now for 25 plus years. So I've been through a lot of markets. I've been through some very good markets, some crazy markets, and I've been through some very down markets. And so having the ability to look back on some of that allows me to say, hey, I just got to focus on the long term. I got to focus on my long-term goals. We need to stay positive. It sounds very simple, but the new Maryland basketball coach, many of you know that I love basketball, especially college basketball. And the new Maryland basketball coach came in, and he's kind of a Northeast guy, got a lot of confidence, a lot of bravado. But I've been kind of watching him and watching some of his recruits and watching some of his coach speak. And it is sometimes coach speak, but he says he rises up every morning. And I thought this was good. He repeats to himself 10 times, positive people produce. Positive people produce. And so coming up with a little quality mantra as you first wake up, as you take a shower, or you're doing your makeup, or you're getting in your car, or whatever the case may be, having your breakfast, and repeating a few positive statements to yourself can really help, versus kind of standing with the shower and the hot water going over your head and going, oh, geez, this is going to be a long day. Or, oh, man, I can't wait to see what's going to, collapse now. I can't get a phone call on my rental listing, or I can't get a phone call on my flip that I just finished. But focusing on the positive can have dramatic effects for you. Little other quote: always remember, your focus determines your reality. That's very, very true. Focus on positive things. Focus on positive results. Focus on positive relationships, and you're going to see a difference in your business. The other thing is start your morning off, as I said, with something positive, whether that's a devotion, whether or not that's an article, whether or not that a mantra that you might have, whether it might a funny video that you enjoy, but something positive. Try to stay away from reading headlines and running to your social media right away. And some of those different things that can have a little bit of a drag on you and kind of set your day in not the most positive light. Can exercise if that's something that you enjoy. You can meditate. You can have a little bit of quiet time. Anything to set your day can be very, very helpful. The other thing I would do is I would continue to, as we go through transitions, and I believe we're in a transition. We're in a transition from an overheated economy to one that's going to slow down, and it has to slow down. And how long that takes and how painful that is, I don't know. But we have to slow down. We all need time to catch up. We all need the ability to increase our wages in order to afford to live. And some people more than others, where it's really kind of scary. But read more, understand your industry and your business. And it's okay to read local Washington Business Journal and Biz Now and different periodicals or different articles about real estate. Be knowledgeable and read and have an understanding, but don't surround yourself with just always negative headlines. But it's okay to understand where we are. It's okay for opinions to come through. Stay away from those gotcha headlines. Stay away from those clickbait, if you will, and focus on people that have taken the time, that are respected, that have an understanding of our local markets. That's the other thing. Stay local. Wherever you're investing, wherever your business is, stay in that region. When you read a headline that says real estate or housing headed for the cliff, and then when you open it up, it talks specifically about 2 or 3 markets that, folks, good chance most of you will never even go there. A Boise or an Austin or parts of California or part of Idaho, or places that you probably are not investing. So, stay local, understand what's going on here in the DC metro area. The other thing I would do is I would study past corrections or past transitions. What happened there? How long were those? What were the opportunities within those corrections that you can take advantage of? And then finally, find a coach, find a mentor. I mean, when 08, 09 happened, folks, I had 33 homes. I was doing a lot of lending. I was making a lot of money lending. And I got stuck with 33 upside down loans. And I had investors, and it was hard. But, I turned to a business coach at that time. Actually, a pastor at my church began a program where he was taking on clients for business purposes. I mean, he had resigned from the church, and he was pursuing another direction in his life. And some of it was coaching. And I hired him. And I met with them twice a month, and we spent some good time together, talking through things, understanding where I was, understanding my challenges, understanding what I had to do to keep a positive attitude as I walk through, darkness in a lot of ways, fearful when I was raising children, and understanding that, gosh, all this could go away. And quite honestly, accepting some of that and understanding that I had ability and I had a network and I had a knowledge that I could restart if I had to. And, I paid him good money for a couple of years, but man, it was well worth it. So finding a mentor, finding someone you can sit down with, have breakfast with, have a cup of coffee with, having someone, spew positive messages to you, not always negative things on top of you. So that's kind of the everyone broad category. Again, if you have comments or any insights into that, be happy to address some of those with you. Hopefully that kind of helps a little bit in some of this stuff. Now let's go break this down. And I'm not sure, again, people from WREIA come from all over, especially as we come online. By the way, we are looking to come back into person. Stay tuned for that. But as we've done the online, you attract people from different markets, different places. Sometimes I recognize names. Sometimes we have people register for WREIA because it is obviously free. We've never heard of these folks. They might be from Carolina, from Minnesota. We don't know. And then certainly the other people within the DC metro area. But my point is I don't know exactly where you're coming from in this business. I don't know what your experience is. I don't know what your education level in real estate investment is. So I tried to break this down into kind of 3 categories. And the categories are classic, obviously. They're newbies, and let's focus on that. And then they're what I call growth investors. These people are kind of in the middle. They're knee deep in this. And then the grizzled vets. So let's talk to the newbies. What I would do in this time, if I was brand new to this business, and you're reading headlines and you're seeing some reality, you're seeing the real estate market soften, slowing down. Again, it has to. There's going to be ups and downs to it. I don't see a crash, but you might feel like there's a crash coming. There might be a crash. Who knows? Nobody knows. But as you get involved and you have an interest in real estate, don't just say, well, it's not a good time for real estate. I'm just going to forget about it. I'm going to go do a multi-level marketing thing that I read online, and I'm going to come back to real estate when the market is hot again. Wrong. This is the best time. This is the best time to get involved. Now, one thing I would mention to you, I probably wouldn't take too much education advice from people that haven't been through a couple cycles. Because if someone just got started 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago, it's been nothing but up. It's kind of nice to get some mentoring, some advice, some education from people that have gone through a good cycle and a bad cycle, because they can probably maybe help you a little bit more. But that's up to you. But I would use it as a time for education. If you're new to the business, this is your time. Decide on your path. And what I mean by that is, what do you want to accomplish in real estate investment? Do you want to own long-term rentals? Do you want to buy, renovate, and sell? Do you want to wholesale? Do you want to find notes? What about the business excites you? Do you want to become a realtor? Decide on that path and then get educated. Are you, and again, you get educated, you can spend a little money. You don't have to spend a lot of money. You can go, online and get books on it. You can read you can listen to podcasts. You can read blogs. I mean, there's lots of ways to get educated on real estate investment. Are you going to go part-time or full-time? If you have the ability to go full-time, great. Maybe you have a side hustle. Maybe you don't need a lot of money right now. Maybe, you have a partner that's working, that's not working. I mean, who knows? But you have to decide that path, get educated. Are you going to go full-time and part-time? And then what are you going to kind of immerse yourself in? Don't immerse yourself in everything. Don't be looking at storage units and multifamily and notes and buy, renovate, and sell. And I want to wholesale, and I want to buy a rental, and I want to buy the. Focus on 1 or 2 things and get immersed in that during this time of a little bit of transition. And you can then start jumping in, as the market may be a little softer, might be a little better time to jump into the market. Use the time to set up your business. What do I mean by that? Create your policies or your procedures. How are you going to run your business? How can you scale something? Who's going to do what? What are you good at? What are you not good at? And who may be down the line, maybe not right away. How can you hire that person? Can you do it online? Can you get a virtual assistant to help you out? How are you going to structure this business? A great time for that if you're new to the business. Start building your teams, folks, depending on the path you take. And as you get educated, okay, I'm a wholesaler. What kind of team do I need? Well, I need a good title attorney. I don't necessarily need a contractor, but I might need someone as I get started to maybe run through a few houses to give me an idea. I might need someone that can track down, a private detective someone that online that can do some searches for me. Maybe I need to work with a realtor on contracts and clauses and phrases. Maybe I need to build up my buyers list. So I need to find some rehabbers in the area that I can call immediately when I have a good wholesale deal. So all these things you can be super, super busy. Okay. Right now, as you get started, which is a great time to get started doing some of these things. Network. I'm going to just say the word network. Use this time to network. If you're new to the business, this is for all of us. If we're new, if we're grizzled, or if they're a growth period of our business, network. And don't just happenstance network. Make it a plan. I want to meet with 3 people every week. I want to, create a database on LinkedIn or on Instagram. I want X amount of followers. I want to build a small community of people that I can get immersed with and connected with. I want to maybe in person have breakfast or have coffee with 2 or 3 people a week or a month, depending on your time and your schedule. I want to put those folks in a database. I want to create value for them as they create value for me. Network. Always a good time, but especially as times change and maybe a little slower, maybe you're not doing as much business, use the time to network. Great activity. Okay. Comments, questions on any of this, feel free to chime in. Be happy to answer any of those questions. So that new person, you can see where your activities are. You're setting up your business. You're getting educated. You're building your teams. You're networking. You're doing these things that as the market slows down a little bit, as it transitions, as people kind of get a feel of where this is going, you're going to start seeing through this process where the opportunities are. Where is the opportunities? Are we going to crash? Okay. Don't think so. Where are people making money? What are the activities that I like? Maybe I want to be a wholesaler. Maybe, hey, I really want to add value and create community and I want to rehab houses. Hey, maybe I want to get on the other side of that. I want to be on the money side. I want to get involved in lending. I want to become more of that. I want to raise capital and lend money. So there's so many different ways that we can kind of fill our time and be working to our ultimate goal. And remember, create those long-term goals because they are truly long-term. These are the end of the rainbow, end of the career goals that you want to accomplish. Hey, I want, $20 million of cash flowing real estate by the time I'm 50 years old. If you're, 25 years old, or if I'm 35 years old, hey, I want X amount of rentals paid off and creating cash flow. Hey, I want to have the ability to, buy a 100-unit building down in North Carolina by the time I'm X. So this is a time to start doing that. All right, you growth investors, this is maybe the most exciting time of your career. You're knee deep. You're rocking and rolling. You've had a great 3 years. You're making money. Your teams are built. You have some capital. You know exactly what you're doing. You know how to find houses. You know how to find the kind of houses you want, whether they're rentals or maybe now you want to morph into something bigger. That kind of goes back to your plan and your long-term goals. But if I was a growth investor, and I was during, the last hurrah, if you will, just immerse yourself in your business. You might have to work harder. You might have to work harder in the next few years to make the same amount of money that you made last 2 or 3 years. So get ready for that. That just might be a reality. You have to reset your business. And what I mean by that is you have to understand what's going to work in this environment. Can you buy, renovate, and sell in a slow market? Absolutely. Houses are still going to sell. Maybe you tweak it. Maybe you don't do as much renovation. Maybe you create value by offering people discounts, right? A house is in the neighborhood going for $300, you're selling yours for $265. But you bought it for $200 and you only put $5,000 in it. You cleaned it out, you threw a little paint on the wall. So you got to kind of reset it, kind of think through what's going to work. How am I going to continue to make money and still move my business forward? Is it a time to pivot? Should you pivot to a different market? Should you pivot to a different strategy? Should you pivot to more of something or less? Got to think about that. You got to create those realistic expectations. The reality is, in some of these markets, for a lot of folks, they make less money. We always hear opportunity, 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 and that's true. But you might make a little less money. Can you handle that? Will your revenue model support it? Will your lifestyle support it? Maybe you need to make some adjustments there. Maybe you can't take 5 vacations every year. Maybe it's only 2. So you got to think through that in the next 12 to 18 months. Gloria, are you still available to answer some questions privately? Absolutely. And we'll throw up my cell phone and my email here as we go. Absolutely. Always. Always. I would, if I'm in the growth, I would look back. Now, again, if you have some issues, you got to walk through those issues. Okay. I had 33 upside down loans. I had to focus on those before I could look for too many more opportunities. Okay. So you have to take care of those, but you also have to determine, where are my best deals? Where are they coming from? Focus on that. Hyper focus during a time of transition. That's going to help you out. Okay, where am I better off in lighter rehabs? Am I better off in the suburbs? Or do I have my best deals doing bigger renovations in the city? Is that where I want to focus? Maybe I kind of morph into that a little bit more, build up my capital, build up my teams, and focus on that, and have a little bit longer renovation cycle to get through the next 12 to 18 months. Come out on the other end with some really nice projects that are going to make me some great profits. Look for new paths. What have you always been dying to do? You might have a little more time on your hand, right? What's something, maybe you want to go from renovating single family houses to tackling a 20, 30, 40 unit, multi-unit building. Take some time to get educated on that. Surround yourself with people that have done it. Surround yourself with markets that make sense to do that, and use this time for research and understanding, and maybe take a little trip down to somewhere where that makes sense. Get excited about that. Be positive. Look for opportunities. That's going to really help you walk through this next 12 to 18 months. And again, I put down on my notes here, just educate yourself on maybe some more creative strategies. Maybe some of the things that you've been doing the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years are not going to work in the next 12, 18, 24 months. Maybe the bank line of credit is going to be too expensive. Maybe your private investor is not going to be as apt to lend you money. So you got to add a few things to your tool chest, if you will. Maybe you have to learn subject twos, owner financing, other creative strategies, using people's self-directed IRAs. Some of the things that you haven't had to do, you might have to do, get educated on, to implement into your business to keep everything moving and cash flowing. Now, you growth investors, the newbies most likely are not full-time yet. The growth investors, for the most part, I guess, are probably full-time. Maybe not. Maybe you have a good, my brother has a full-time job that he's never lost in up and down real estate cycles, and he owns rental properties. And when the market slows down, he starts looking for a few more opportunities. So I might be jumping the gun. But if you are full-time and your cash flow is squeezed a little bit, things aren't moving as quick, the velocity of business isn't as great, and you have a few cash flow crunches, how are you going to get through that? Can you get a credit line? Can you get a private investor to help you? Do you have to take a small part-time job? Is there a side hustle you might have to do for a little while? Don't be afraid of doing some of those things to keep your business active, moving, and going in the right direction. It's okay. It's okay. So you got to think through some of those things to get through maybe a little bit more rocky times, if you will. Okay. And bottom line is, you might have to work harder. I mentioned that. Just work a little harder. Maybe you have to work on some occasional Saturdays. Maybe you have to stay at the office a little later at night for some marketing strategies, or to spend some time online to get maybe some education, or maybe you have to have a few more breakfasts or dinners a little earlier in the morning that you prefer, to kind of keep everything moving along. Let's morph to the grizzled vets. Janice, I see something here. I would like to use a virtual assistant that has been vetted already. Could you give a recommendation for a virtual assistant? Yeah, some of that's the private stuff. Janice, just contact the cell phone, and I'll try to hook you up, with the community where you can go with the virtual assistant. Virtual assistants is, they come and go. Okay, they come and go. I've used virtual assistants in my business. I've used a lot of part-time people too. I've had better luck with part-time people, to tell you the truth, than virtual assistants. But again, if it's a specific task, it's administrative. If it's different, that's repeatable, you certainly can find someone that can do that for you. You grizzled vets. Now you've been through the wars. You've been through, I'm guessing if you're grizzled, you got to be through a couple of real estate cycles. You've been here, done that. You've seen the headlines. You've seen the markets where things have changed dramatically overnight. Now, we are in an interesting market here now for you grizzled vets. I've been doing this now 25 and going on 30 years, I think. Yeah. And I haven't seen this kind of market before. I haven't been in a market where rates have risen so dramatically in such a short period of time. It's interesting. If I wasn't knee deep in it, I'd be a little more interested in it, right? Sitting back, understanding what's going on is complex. But what's going to happen? The Federal Reserve is raising rates. Mortgage rates have doubled from last year. But the supply of houses has not increased dramatically yet. And again, think locally or think where you're investing. If you have some rentals in Florida, think that way. But think of the markets that you're in. But, DC didn't go bonkers, did very, very well, but didn't go bonkers like some of these markets. Like you always read about Boise. You read about, I read about another market in Montana, Bozeman, where in Bozeman, you could buy a couple acre lot for $200,000 5 years ago. Oh, they're selling those lots now for $1.2 million, $1.4 million. I mean, it's gone up 7 times. It's crazy. In our local market, certainly things have gone up. The lower end, when I say the lower cost properties have definitely added tremendous value, but in some cases it's gotten to the value where it should be in a lot of ways. But our upper end markets haven't gone crazy. It's expensive. It's always been expensive. So the question is, if the supply remains okay, right? If we don't have a tremendous amount of supply coming on board, can we walk through this? Yes, not raising our prices 25, 30, 30 grand every single time we put a house on the market, but can we reasonably walk through it without having too much pain? It's a good question. I wish I knew the answer. If I'm guessing, I believe we can. I kind of believe there could be a soft landing in the DC metro area. Yes, I think houses will stabilize. Yes, I think some housing prices will go down. Some of that's based on condition. We can't get away with throwing anything on the market without home inspections, with multiple offers. Those days are gone for a while, certainly. But if we have a good quality product or we're showing real value to someone, could we move the house? I think so. I did one very recently with a gentleman. We bought a house and we looked at renovating it, and we could have renovated. We got it for a good price. But we cleaned it out, and I said, hey, let's throw it on the market. Let's see if there's another investor that's looking for a rental property, or maybe that someone's looking for a project in the next 3 months. And we bumped that house, significantly up from where we bought it. We did clean it out. We made it look presentable. We took back a lot of vegetation and made the outside look much better. And we threw it on the market, and the phone didn't ring off the hook. We got enough offers where I got full price. And so, I was in and out of that house within 3.5 weeks, and invested very little money after we bought it into the property. So I offered good value. And this was recent, this last few weeks. So there are opportunities to make money. So grizzled vets, review those long-term goals. Stay true to those. What was your goal back in the day? What were you trying to accomplish? Cash flow, I'm guessing, certain amount of real estate, maybe, different things like that. Just stay that path. Don't veer off that. Hold that true. If it was true 20 years ago and you've been building up, don't let the next 18 months scare you or, make you, take a wrong or left turn or, make dumb decisions. Keep that path going. Shore up your cash flow. Make sure that your rents are up to date, your things are up to date, you got some cash flow to walk you through this a little bit. Always look for opportunities. You grizzled vets, where the opportunities are. It's within people, meaning it's networking, it's asking, it's talking to realtors, mortgage loan officers, contractors, banks. Where these opportunities come from. So get out there and start talking and start letting people know that you're available and you're looking for opportunities. And hey, if the portfolio of rental houses is available, you're interested in that. If there's some note that you can buy at a discount, you're interested in that. So be in the game and look for those opportunities. have those sources of capital ready to buy. Put a little money to the side. Start talking to some of your capital partners and say, listen, if I come up with this great opportunity, could be a commercial property. Are you open to investing? Can you pull the trigger? If the numbers look good, are you ready? If I find a good 20-unit apartment building down in Greensboro, North Carolina, are you ready to pull the trigger? If one of my banks comes to me with a $350,000 note that we could buy for, or $1 million note we could buy for 650 grand, are you ready to do that? Start creating these scenarios, because they're going to come, and then you're going to be ready and you can pounce. Review your next steps. Where are you heading? I'm in this realm with my wife, with Brenda and I. We're kind of looking at, okay, where are we going? We've been doing this a long time. Where's our next step? What do we want to do? What do we want to accomplish? What have we accomplished? And is it meeting what we wanted to do? Our last son, Luke, went off to college in the fall. We have more time. I'm not attending his lacrosse games. I'm not shuttling back and forth from different events, or I'm not going to events. You have a different worry when a kid's in college. And those of you that have kids in college, you understand what those worries are. But it's not the day-to-day things that you used to worry about. And you have more time. You just do. You have more time in the evening. You have more time on the weekends. So how are you going to use that time? You're going to use it for business. You're going to use it for other things that you might want to do. Is it an offshoot of business? Do you want to do something within the same realm and maybe give back a little bit? You got to make those next steps and figure out where you're going to go. Or maybe it's just doing the same things you've always done. It's hard to know. It's an individual decision. And then network. As I said, network. So, each of you has plenty to do. I don't want to hear from anyone, oh, there's nothing to do. The phone's not ringing. My email's slow. My texting's slow. My social media is just the same old people talking about this and that, where they've been and how they're doing. And stay positive. Get excited about something. Move in a new direction. Take a small 2 or 3 day trip. Go look at some real estate. Pursue something else in real estate that you've always wanted to do. Get around people that are active. Get around people that are positive. Get around people that are doing things. Get excited. Maybe take a class in Orlando in February, or Vegas. Get out there. Take a couple classes. Enjoy it. Surrounded about another activity that you like, but stay positive, and I think you're going to find some great opportunities. Now, we're here as WREIA members, myself. If you're looking for people to, coach, if you're looking for people to partner, if you're looking for maybe a positive message once in a while, listen, I go through the same things every single one of you is going. There are days where I'm like, man, this sucks. Man, the phone is dead. What am I going to do? But I've learned to stay positive. I've learned to focus on something else. I've learned to sometimes to step away from the business. Sometimes if you're having a bad day, man, if you're a full-time real estate agent, investor, mortgage owner, you have your own time, take the rest of the day off. Go do something you enjoy. Take a long walk. Take a bike ride if you like it. Whatever you enjoy, go do. Maybe take in a movie, in the middle of the day. Just get away from some of the negativity. And you'll find yourself refreshed. You'll find yourself giving yourself a break and saying, it's okay not to have a great day today. Tomorrow I'm going to be a little bit better. Because when you're bombarded by negativity, and again, those of you we're all here in Washington for the most part, man, we are bombarded with this political chaos, right? And I don't care if you're on the right or you're on the left, doesn't matter. You've taken a position, you've taken a belief, and we're polarized. And 50%, this area, 80% of the people maybe lean one way and 20% the other. But some of that can get overwhelming to people. Turn off the political shows, political radio. Get away from it. Take a break from it. And you'll find yourself a little bit more refreshed. My wife and I, we like to wander on our trips. Our trips are, we're like everyone else. We like a couple of days at the beach every now and then just to sit in the sand and relax and stare at the ocean. But a lot of our vacations are surrounded by kind of wandering, picking a location, a destination, renting a car, and just going. And this summer, we went to Denmark, and we spent a few days in Denmark. And then we took a ferry over to Norway, rented a car, and drove Norway. And Norway, if you've never been to Norway, it's just an absolutely beautiful country. The fjords, the landscapes, the topography of the country changes it seems like every 200 miles. And we went down the coast, southern part, came back. We took our boys went. We did an awesome whitewater rafting trip. And the point is when you're in some of these small places with barely any internet, man, you get away from hearing about the chaos back at home. You get away, you wonder, how do people, this is great. People live here day to day. And you can kind of go back to some of that when you kind of get that feeling. Now, we've been blessed to be able to do that, but you don't have to go to Norway. You can go to Great Falls. You can go up to Frederick and take a walk. You can go down to Old Town and go to a brewery. I mean, there's so many different things you can do to get away from some of the noise, to keep your focus and your mindset kind of on the ball. Russell, you're always good for a comment or two. The other strategy in downturn is to buy property with no risk, subject to and route to a lower price range. So if the crash happened and equity went down, it was all about cash flow. And that was my point, Russell, and the growth investors. Learn some different strategies to control real estate, right? To weather some of this. And sure, I mean, we could crash. No one can tell you yes or no. There's going to be some people that say, man, everything looks like it's going down the toilet. And there's other people that say, hey, this, we could come out of this okay. What I've learned in 30 years of doing this business is somewhere in the middle. It's just somewhere in the middle. The worst news of the pandemic didn't come true. Now, if you lost your life, if a family member lost your life, if you got really, really sick, man, it was rough, obviously. But for the vast, vast, vast majority of people that maybe got sick and were down a few days, and it just depends. It depends on the circumstance. If you lost your business, you lost your job, obviously that was a defining moment in your life. But if anything, we're resilient. We can bounce back. And yeah, again, I just thought tonight was a night that hopefully I give you guys a little bit of direction, a little bit of ideas on what you can do. I understand this is general. This is generalized. All of us are individuals. All of us are in different places. Some of us have tremendous jobs and invest in real estate as a hobby. Some of us have been in the real estate game a long time and have a little bit of some resources to fall back on. But and some of us are just getting started. So wide range of people and wide range of things you need. Now, if you need some personal time, if you want to just text me, give me a quick call sometime. Texting sometimes the best way to reach me. You need a little bit more personal of what exactly you need. I got a few questions today that were obviously more specific. Janice, I see Upwork has VAs available both stateside and nationally. You can view their work history and rankings. That's great. And that's what REIA is about, is getting some resources, right? And understanding who other people use that have had success. It's just like, just like Angie's List. If you're looking for a contractor, it's called Angie Now, or any of these TripAdvisor. I mean, I can't tell you how many times we use TripAdvisor on an out of the way restaurant in the middle of nowhere. And there's TripAdvisor reviews. And it's amazing. They're right most of the time. Same way with the group like with REIA. Okay. Resources. It's important. I'm sorry, Russell, I got distracted. My strategy for the last downturn was to make money on items I had access to, but were no longer using, such as I had access to get great private and hard money loans. Okay. Yeah. You go to the well, you go to your network, you go to your resources, you build your network. The most successful folks in business have very large networks. They just have people to call on when they need it. And they're always picking their brain. They're curious, right? You're looking at where's the opportunity. One area that's very interesting is we've had, from the pandemic, we had a lot of folks that were in forbearance agreements. What happened to all those folks? Are the banks holding some of these properties? Are they going to unleash them a little bit? Where's the opportunity? Keep looking for that opportunity. I tell you what, coming out of 08, 09, one of my strategies that I tried in 08 and 09 to convince my private investors to buy rental properties. And man, I just kept hitting my head up against the wall. And all of a sudden I had a breakfast in like 010, 011. And when the investor said he wanted me to meet someone, this gentleman came to breakfast. He goes, one of the ideas I had is that I think I think I should be buying some rental properties. And boom, we just hit it off, created a nice little LLC, went on to buy, 25 plus rental properties all throughout the area at great prices, allowed me to make money during that time. I had the ability to manage properties. We sold a lot of those properties, made great money through this last uptick. And so it turned out to be a tremendous opportunity for me, and something that I look back on and go, geez, if I knew that earlier as an investor, I would have created some of that structure, some of that setup in order to do more of these. So there's always going to be opportunity. You just got to be out there. You got to be looking for it. You got to be involved. And then when you have it, you got to surround yourself with people that can help you and help you become successful. I hope this was helpful. Folks, as I said, we're going to be looking to try to get back together in person some more. The online is great in some ways, but it's sometimes hard for everyone to connect, get to know everyone a little bit more. So if you have any questions, if I can help you in any way, certainly reach out. Stay positive, stay focused, stay in touch, stay connected, and we'll be back with you next month and talking more real estate. Hope this was helpful, and I'll see you soon. Take care.